1923 was the year the material of 1,000 uses was announced. This universal, inexpensive material was promised to fit everything from jewelry to pipeline. Do you know by any chance what material that was? So let me help you. It was plastics that was promoted back then as a flexible, convenient, and long-lasting material that will last forever. Today, only 100 years later, we now understand that lasting forever is not really a good thing. My name is GOLDMAN. I'm an innovator with a circular sustainability approach. But don't worry, I know what you're thinking. I'm not here to talk to you about microplastic in our blood or in the breast milk or how it affects our health. I'm not going to be diving into seas of plastics and how it affects the environment. You know already that plastic is bad for you, is bad for the environment, and this is not what I'm here to do. I'm here to hopefully provide you with a new approach or a new vision on how you look at sustainability and sustainable solutions. I'm here to talk with you about the material of 1,000 myths. This is my family, and my family has been hiking, camping, and traveling since forever. Over the last decades, we've unfortunately noticed the amount of trash that is piling up on the roads, on the hiking path, on the camping park, and basically everywhere we go. As my kids grew, they started noticing the harm created to the environment as well. They started collecting trash along our hikes, and they started to ask questions, as they always do every day, all day long. In the process of explaining to them the harm caused to the environment, we looked around and realized that the figurines they were playing with are also made out of plastics. So we continue our look around the house just to realize that basically everything around us is made out of some sort of plastics or with some sort of plastics. That pushed me to start and exploring what are the available alternatives or solutions out there, only to realize that most of those solutions are not drop-in alternatives. And considering the huge infrastructure of the plastic industry, it will mean that these solutions will always remain niche solutions. Now, being someone that cannot take it is what it is, you can ask some people around here, I decided to quit my day job and together with my partner Eran, to look for a solution for a healthier future for our kids. My experience working in the heavy industry, visiting all type of factories from all type of industries, witnessing the pollution emitted to the environment and the damage that we do to the ecosystem, provided me also with the motivation and the capabilities to develop, generate, and make a change with the hope of a healthier future for our kids. Now, I would like to just ask you to do something for me right now, if you don't mind. Please have a look, focus on yourself. Focus on your belongings, on your surrounding, and what materials are they made of? Maybe what is the fabric of your clothing, or your bag, or your phone, or maybe the chair you're sitting on. Now I want to ask you another question. How many of these products you think are not made with plastics of some sort? I will tell you, it would probably be easier to actually count what's not made with plastics. That's how bad the situation is. But as said, I'm not here to tell you to stop using plastics. You've heard enough about that. I want to tell you the story of me during my journey to sustainability, and what I learned is that there are a lot of myths around sustainable product and sustainable materials that we just don't know about enough for us to take the right decision, especially when we look at the bigger picture. So I want to share a few of those myths here with you. I want to start with the first myth. We are told that paper is better. If you ever been to the US or even European supermarket, or even if you've seen a US movie, you are probably familiar with this phrase, paper or plastics. The subtext here is that paper is the better solution between the two. Now, I don't want to overload you with the harmful data about the difference between the two industries and the pros and cons, but I'll just put one number in. In the US alone, the pulp and paper industry is responsible for 20% of the harmful toxin into the air, only in the US. You may feel, when you take the decision to put a paper straw in your drink, that you made a better option. But have you noticed how many paper straw you need in order to last the same as one plastic straw? Will it last the entire evening, or will it even stay until I finish my drink? I just put these two in here. So do you think that this mushy feeling paper straw is better than this one, when considering I will change this one probably 5 times until the end of the evening? Who decided that we are only limited also to just paper versus plastics? Who decided on disposable on the first place, when there are many alternatives out there and there are reusable options? Now, continuing on this note, we are also cutting down trees in order to make that. So the impact is even bigger than what we think when we buy a paper straw. We are told that we are the change, that you and I and all of us here need to reduce or reuse or recycle. Now let's talk about an imaginary story. Imagine that a good friend of you is asking you to help him with something. Because he's a good friend, you say immediately you agree. But deep inside of you, you think to yourself, oh, I wish he would ask me to do something that does not require me too much, right? So you would not want him to ask you to physically help him move his apartment. It's crazy. But you would lend him your car to do the move if he asks, right? Same goes for us as consumers. We are expected to act, to collect, to sort, to clean, and then drive these things into the recycling bin. But what if I told you that about over 80% of the food and beverage brands that you know globally are owned by only 10 big companies? It's a bit shocking, these numbers, right? So, to what extension should we continue to expect 8 billion people to change their behavioral habits in order to make a change and to continue and make constant efforts? Why doesn't the responsibility lie on these 10 companies to drive the change? And think about the end of life of the product. Does anybody here knows if a milk carton is considered paper or plastic? Well, it has both, which means it cannot be recycled as paper, neither as plastic, which means that you are making an effort to collect this thing to the recycling, where initially it cannot even be recycled at all. Just ask yourself if that makes any sense to you. Now let's talk about non-recyclable trash. We are told to just throw it away. Now, the average person consumes or generates about 274 kilograms of waste a year. 3/4 of a kilo a day of waste. You know, the equivalent to a humpback dolphin. Can you imagine how much trash? And with only 9% of the annual plastic production being recycled, when you throw it away, where is a way? Is there a way at all? We are surrounded by mountains of trash, literally. Let's take this park, for example. This park was built on 450,000 square meters of landfill, in which 16 million cubic tons of waste was dumped for 50 years. Now, while this looks like a great solution, you know, it's green, looks very ecological, very nice to go, there is a visitor center over there, you know, and very, you know, easy to do. These piles generate and send into the ground toxic material slowly when they decompose. So actually, we are hurting the ground. And if we look at Israel, we generate a little waste generation. We generate about 80% of what we use, we send into landfill. and we are a month away from not having enough space anymore for landfill. So what will we do then? Will we send it somewhere else? So I want you to think about the next thing. The next time you see a mountain, like this for example, remember that it could actually be this in disguise. Now, we are told that natural materials or ingredients, or both of them, cost more. Well, sometimes it's true. There's nothing to do about it. But do you remember in the early 2000s how pricey was a flat television screen? The first model was sold by Panasonic for over $15,000. Can you imagine that now? Maybe some of you are old enough to remember how pricey this phone was back in the days. What I want to say here that while new technologies, when they come in, they cost more in early stages and in low capacities, with the right forces of market, they become more affordable to everybody. Today, we are facing a different story. Eco-friendly and sustainable products are branded as a marketing strategy to make them more pricey, to make them premium, or to make them elite, and it makes them almost, certain to appeal only to wealthier consumers, or maybe those that are more conscious or can afford the price. But how can we actually know if a product that we are paying extra for actually serves the goal we wanted it to achieve? Do you know if there are any regulations around those green labels? Or, I bought this cup last week. It states, as you can see, wheat coffee cup, with the right coloring and everything, looks very biological. Only to review the back prints, saying that it has 10% wheat straw and 90% is still polypropylene plastics. So basically, for the 10% wheat additives, I paid almost 5 times the price of the same thing made out of full plastics. Doesn't make sense, right? And according to the MIT Sloan Management Review, when consumers are forced to make a trade-off between product attributes and the environment or helping the environment really rarely wins, especially when we need to pay this much on the cost for it. Now, not all green products need to cost double or triple or quadruple the price of fossil-based plastic just because of labeling. Just like in the early days of cell phones or televisions, we need the market infrastructure to support the growth of these solutions so that they will be able to be affordable to our pockets. Now, we've reached the last myth that I want to share with you. For me, I think it's the most confusing one. Especially it was for me when I go into this road. So, stay with me for another minute. We are told that if you can't see it, it's gone. If you have a dishwasher, you are familiar with this cleaning pod. You put it in your dish machine, you load the dishes, you press start, that's it. It's gone, It's doing the job. Well, the plastic containing this liquid soap is water soluble, which means that in the right condition, in the right temperature, in the right pressures, it will dissolve in the water. And the plastic containing will disappear, in brackets. But does dissolving, meaning it biodegrades into non-toxic materials? Actually, no. Maybe it does break down into unseen microplastics that go back into our sewage, back to our water, and remains forever in our systems, and then comes back to us in the form of drinks and food. So while you cannot see it after use, it can still leave harmful traces. This is because not all soluble products are actually biodegradable. Now, this journey that I tried to take you on, we went through some of the myths that surprised me the most when I walk this path. I am sure, as I have many, many more, if you dig into what you think about sustainable materials, you will find even more than that. We have only seen that plastic is not the only environmental polluter, and sometimes the alternatives are even worse. We've asked ourselves the questions of who is and who should be responsible for the change that will prevent us from, piling mountains of trash. And we acknowledged that sustainable products don't have to be more costly, and that sometimes just because you don't see something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not there. So at the end of the day, not everything is as it seems. For sure, not as it is promoted. But know this, we are in an era of change. Huge leaps of development of sustainable products we never thought were possible to do. There is an act now to drive solutions from nature and for nature. Thank you very much.